And so today, our presentation from the English Language Learner Performance Services Department is all about supporting and growing English language learners at your school. And today I am presenting Sean Story along with Alyssa Arrowsmith. All right, our agenda for this webinar is we're going to talk about ELLs, LEP students, Limited English Proficient. We're going to talk a little bit about MFLEP students, or Monitored Former Limited English Proficient students. And those are those students who've graduated from the program, but we still want to make sure that we're supporting them as they were recently LEP. We're going to get into federal requirements and state guidelines for ELLs. We're also going to look at 3 different service model options that you can use for ELLs at your school. We'll cover language growth, looking at AMAO 1, exiting from ESL services, AMAO 2, the scorecard targets for the Limited English Proficient subgroup, AMAO 3, and different types of support that we offer, and of course any questions and answers, of course, that we can provide for you. All right. And so the first thing we really want to make sure is clear is how these students are identified and the process that we use to enroll them in CMS schools. So basically it starts out, a family would register their student in CMS by filling out the CMS enrollment form. And then you'll notice that if they're a language minority student, this is how we're finding that out. When they fill out the enrollment form, they answer 3 questions about their home language, and based on these answers, the student is considered either English only or a language minority student. After that, the language minority student, if that's the designation, then takes the WAPT English Screener. So this is a kind of a pre-test to see what their language level is in English. And based on the scores on the WAPT, the student is considered either Limited English Proficient or never identified as LEP. And so that's really how we begin the process of making sure they're going to get the support that they need. After that, LEP students must receive English as a second language or ESL services at their school based on the school's service model, which we'll get into in just a minute. And every LEP student or ELL student must have an individual ELL or English Language Learner student plan. All right, in the spring, students take the Access English test, and this is basically a later version of that WAPT. It's testing their English language proficiency at that point in reading, writing, listening, and speaking. So based on the results of that, or based on those results, right, for the following school year, the student is considered either Limited English Proficient or Monitored Former Limited English Proficient. And then lastly, the Monitored Former Limited English Proficient students must be monitored for 2 years after they've exited from ESL services. So at that point, we're just looking to make sure they're not regressing or missing the progress that they should still be making in English. We just don't want to assume that they've kind of got it from there.
So to recap, the federal requirements and state guidelines, all English language learners identified as LEP must receive English language development services. Principals, in collaboration with the L Committee and ESL staff, will determine the service model at their school. And L committees also determine individual language instruction educational programs for every student, so the LIEP, which we're going to take a look at here next. So this is the LIEP continuum of services for elementary schools. This can be found in the ELL toolkit that we give out at L-Chair meetings. And we're just going to kind of go through it real quick. So for a student who is considered novice, that means that their overall composite score is 3.0 or less. They can have content area instruction delivered by a SIOP trained classroom teacher, or they could have small group daily instruction for 30 to 45 minutes with an ESL teacher for English language development, and on top of SIOP trained co-teaching and a co-planning team. For intermediate level students, those are those students scoring in the 3 to 4 range overall on access testing. They can have content area instruction delivered by a SIOP trained classroom teacher, as their form of service. They could also have small group instruction, meeting just 2 to 3 times per week, or they could have SIOP trained co-teaching and co-planning. And then finally, for the advanced collaborative students, those are those students with a 3.7 composite score or greater. They can also have the same 3 supports: content area instruction by a SIOP trained teacher, small group instruction by an ESL teacher, or SIOP trained co-teaching and co-planning. This looks almost the same, but this is for secondary students. So again, it just breaks it down by novice, intermediate, and advanced. And we have a few different options listed under the service models. So if you go down to almost the bottom, a novice level student in secondary school could have English 1, ESL novice. They could have English 2, ESL novice, English 3, ESL novice, English 4, ESL novice, or SIOP course codes for all core content courses. And then that stays the same throughout for the intermediate students and for the advanced collaborative students as well. The only difference would be for the advanced collaborative students, you wouldn't want them to be in an ELD course, English language development course, if they're advanced. This is our grading policy for ELS and CMS. So basically the top is just saying that the student work should be graded in accordance with the can-do descriptors from WIDA, which tells you what a student is capable of doing based on their proficiency levels from either the WAPT or access testing scores. And that instruction should be modified and assignments should be modified based on their English proficiency levels. Report card grades should reflect modifications, and students who are limited English proficient should not be held back from receiving a highest grade in a course due to lack of language. So that last sentence I think is very important. Students should not receive grades of a D, F, or 1 if they're K2 on assignments solely based on their English, limited English proficiency. So a student could still receive a D, F, or 1 if their student's lack of performance is on appropriately modified work. And then at the bottom we have the LEP promotion and retention policy. So it just talks about how language should not be a barrier to learning. LEP students should still be held to the same high standards as we hold all students, and that LEP students shall meet the same standards for a high school diploma. So these are the AMAOs. AMAO 1 is about progress. So we measure student progress using the access test, which occurs in February. The composite score, the overall composite, needs to grow 0.5 from one year to the next in order for that student to be making the AMAO growth that is expected from them. Or if they're already advanced, then they could also reach full proficiency and exit, and that would be counted as making the expected growth. AMAO 2, the definition of that is to meet full proficiency on the access test and to exit LEP status. So they have to reach an overall composite score of 4.8 or above and score at least a 4 on the reading subtest and a 4 on the writing subtest in order to exit LEP status. And then AMAO 3 is the accountability scorecard targets for LEP students. How do I ensure that English learners at my school continue to show language growth and or exit from ESL services? So this is something we wanted you to think about, especially since your schools don't have an ESL teacher. And then also the question, how can I ensure my LEP subgroup is showing increased academic achievement according to state tests? So on those EOGs and EOCs. So we'll unmute you for a moment so we can discuss this. Okay, so we also have Amanda now. Hi, Amanda. Can you hear us?
Amanda's self-muted.
Oh, you're self-muted, Amanda. So if you unmute yourself, we would love for you to introduce yourself and tell us what school you're joining us from. Okay. Catherine, are you still there?
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts about these two questions in regards to Lincoln Heights and how you service the LEP students there?
No, I'm not as familiar with what procedures we've used because most of the time our kids have tested out in the years past. I'm not sure where we stand with the one kid that we have right now. I have to take a look.
Okay, perfect. And we're going to go into a little later the different supports that we offer, so that if you don't have the student placed with a SciUp trained teacher, that could be an option, because as you saw in the LIEP, that a SciUp trained content teacher can deliver that ESL support.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and keep on going.
All right, so this is Sean Story. I'm back with you, and we're talking now about how you can get support for your teachers in serving these students. Not having an ESL teacher does put you in a unique situation, but it's not one that can't be, accommodated. So in this case, where can I get support in meeting the needs of my English language learners? We've got a link here for you. If you go to this link, it will take you to a website that the L Services Department is offering, where you can literally see what SciOp classes are offered, so that you could send teachers to those classes, or you could request support to come out to your school and do training for you there. So you have some choices, whatever might fit your staff and your schedule the best. On this particular slide, you're looking at basically a picture of the website, and in the top left corner where it says Professional Development Calendar, if you go to the site and click there, you'll see a full calendar of everything we're offering. If the dates do not line up, you can certainly email myself. My email's all over the site and certainly at the end of this presentation. Or just click Join Now and fill out a request form, and that will automatically send us an email saying that you've made a request. And this is all so that we can make sure if you don't have some SciOp trained teachers, that we can get them trained, and it'll be another great way to serve the students. And so here we go. So through our website, we offer several different things. First, I want to mention that we offer courses designed to meet the needs of your diverse professional teachers. All subject areas are served. So we've got math, science, English, and social studies SciOp classes. Review and renew if they've had the classes before. We also have classes on coaching and also classes for all types of areas, CTE included. Also, I want to mention that these classes are basically training your teachers to teach their content and language in a way that the students can grow their language while mastering content, because research is showing us that that's the best practice. If the students are pulled out and taught language separately, it literally slows down their development. And so the SciOp strategies allow you to do it all at once and serve the needs of the students. And then lastly, down there you'll see registration for these courses can be completed at the CMS My Talent online professional development platform just by clicking that link. We all know how to get there, but that'll shortcut you to the site. And if you go onto the website that I previously mentioned, we have the course codes there. You can literally take them, put them right into My Talent, and get the classes that you need pulled up and see when they are and see if you want to take some of those. All right, we also offer follow-up coaching with our sheltered instruction coaches. I am one of those, and on how to best implement sheltered instruction practices. And this is also a situation where we could have the coaches come out and work with you and your staff in any capacity that you feel would support the teachers in supporting those students. Modeling lessons, doing staff PD. I mean, pretty much we tailor it to the needs of your staff and what you'd like to see. We can also generate rosters of who's been SciOp trained at your school, kind of give you an idea of anyone who might have had training before. SciOp's been around in the district for quite a while, so it is possible that you may have staff members who have been trained. And then also, if you visit our sheltered instruction website and just indicate your interest in attending one of those courses, even if the class has already happened, by filling out the form on the site, we're basically reserving you a spot for when we offer the class in the spring. So there are a lot of options there. All right, so we wanted to see if you have any questions at this point. There you go, Catherine. So if you have some questions at this point, we can go ahead with those.
No, I think it's the kind of thing that it might be helpful if someone would be able to work with my facilitators to come into the team planning sessions and provide kind of an overview, at least of SciOp, to all of my teachers, because there's an opportunity at any point in time a kid could be placed in anyone's class, and since we don't have any ESL staff at school, that was one way I was thinking that we could make sure that we have the strategies in place rather than sending everybody to the PD. Is that something that we could work out?
Oh yeah, definitely. That sounds good. And basically, we
If I
just need
just
to
do
just set
email?
up the time. Yeah, honestly, if you email my email at the end of this session, we can go ahead and set that up. That's not a problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I did, when I was in the classroom, I did the SIOP training, and I feel like as far as classroom engagement strategies, it would be good for all of my EC teachers anyway, because a lot of things overlap with EC and ESL.
I agree. I spent the last 5 years doing EC inclusion and PSYOP all in one room, and the strategies did seem to work for all students. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, we can totally set up a time and come out and do that training. It'd be a pleasure. That's not a problem.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay, and that's pretty much what we have. So unless you have other questions, we'll wrap up when we get to this last slide here, and then I'd like to make sure we connect via email and we can set up a meeting. Okay?
That sounds wonderful. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you for being on, our honored guest on here today.
Yes.
And you made it real for us, so I like that. And I'm going to go ahead and close it
Yeah.
out and go ahead and proceed here. All right, so you can see our contact information here. Jessica Wright is literally the Title III resource teacher who looks at all the data surrounding the students, their levels. That's really her specialty. I'll let Alyssa talk for a second about hers.
My name's Alyssa Aerosmith, and I'm a resource teacher working with ESL teachers.
And I'm Sean Story, Sheltered Instruction Coach. So my main role is to support content teachers, right? Not really ESL specifically, but content teachers to try to make sure that the students are developing their language and achieving in the academic content area.
Great.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up. And just remember to email us, and we will get this going. We live and die by the email, so we definitely will be looking out for you, Catherine, and any questions that you may have, Amanda, so that we can continue to serve you. Okay? And thanks for joining us
Great.
today. All right, you guys have a good one.